Hey, welcome back to another edition of Boxing for Real. Hope you liked the cat promo that we put together for you. I enjoyed filming it. It was a little different, and today's going to be a little different. We're going to talk about a special topic in boxing. We're talking about putting boxing matches on every weekend. There is no need to not have boxing matches on every weekend, and that's what we're here to talk about. I'm your host, Don Omega. This is Iron Truth, back again this week. So here we are.
All right. This has been a problem for quite a while in boxing with fights not being on every weekend. The problem is you have Showtime and HBO competing week after week. HBO seems absolutely determined, I think, to just compete with Showtime for some reason. I don't understand it. It's hurting the sport. It hurts the fans, and it's also just dumb business sense, if you ask me. You could get 100% of people that are going to watch boxing, or you could split your value and have people have to choose. I mean, it doesn't seem like a hard choice. I don't really get why people do it. Just so HBO can say they beat Showtime in the ratings, I don't see where that's some kind of great accomplishment, really. So.
Yeah, I have to agree. HBO already in their TV series are crushing Showtime, so I don't see why they have to go after them in boxing too. They're obviously the better boxing people already. They've established that. And Showtime has gone out of their way to not compete. They announced at the beginning of last year,
2004.
2004, actually, that they would be putting their shows on the first Saturday of every month. That was basically a message to HBO and the world. There's no need to compete. Anyone wanting to put on a pay-per-view, please don't do it. We're going to leave ours here. We won't compete with you. Put yours on the second Saturday or some other Saturday.
Just absolutely insane, really. Showtime at least made an effort to try to prevent this a little bit. I do still hold that against them that they refused to put a fight on any other Saturday of the month. But at least they did try to come out and say that they were going to do that to let HBO and everyone else know that that's their date, so schedule everything else around that, at least. And HBO refuses. So.
I have to agree, although I do have to say this Showtime didn't put on a ton more shows anyhow without that, so therefore they were putting out around 12 shows a year anyhow, so I don't hold that against them that much. But the fact that they did announce this to me, that says, and then HBO and even promoters will go and put a show on at the same date. Yeah. That's just there's no need for it.
Take the June 10th. This past June, you had Hopkins and Tarver on pay-per-view. You also had Bob Arum putting on Cotto and Molly Najee, both on pay-per-view. That was the absolute worst, to have to pay both shows and to have to choose. Once again, that's two great fights, two just mega fights, really.
Yeah, nobody could watch them both at the same time.
Exactly. I chose to watch Hopkins and Tarver, then I taped Cotto, Molly, and Najee, went and got the tape afterwards, of course, but I mean, I want to see
what a lot of people did, I watched the Cotto, Molly, and Najee fight because I knew the Hopkins-Tarver fight was going to be shown free the next week anyhow.
So that's, if you had to choose, of course, you would have chose the Cotto, Molly, and Najee fight. I, being the fan I am, had to see them both immediately, so I went ahead and got them both, of course.
I did see them both at the same time, but like the same night, but I did not. If I would have had to, I would have seen the other one, because Hopkins also had only had one undercard match.
Yeah,
Demetrius.
Camacho.
Camacho Jr., which
he lost.
Cared nothing about seeing him.
Yeah.
And the Malinaji card
had four other fights besides that one I was interested in seeing, so that was definitely the better all-around card. And as you said, Hopkins was going to be shown the week afterwards anyway, so you would have gotten to see everything that way.
While we're on the topic of pay-per-views, we've already mentioned this on another show, but we want to revisit it while we're on this. They need to show the full cards of fights. You're paying the pay-per-view price, show the whole card. There's no need not to. You have that whole slot.
Yeah, the slots go from 9 to 2, it says. 9 o'clock at night to 2 in the morning. That's That's 5 hours. That's more than enough time to show every fight on there. Or they could even start it earlier, say at 7 even, and go to 12 at midnight just to show every fight. I don't get it. Golden Boy actually did show free preview one time last year with the first Hopkins-Taylor fight. They started the card at 8 o'clock, and they showed 2 up-and-coming prospects, Abner Mares and Vicente Escobedo. And it looked like they were going to continue that, but for some reason they stopped. I think it was because of HBO complaining about the matchmaking of the prospects, which who really cares at this point who they're fighting? We want to see these guys progress, you know.
And prospects, the matchmaking, you don't expect them to be fighting great fighters when they're starting out. They need to get used to the crowds. They need to get used to just being professionals.
And being on TV and being shown and dealing with that kind of pressure.
Absolutely.
It's a way for them to develop a pro style, to develop their skills in the ring against these guys that aren't good fighters, obviously. And it's a chance to showcase them. But HBO really... They just probably said they weren't going to show that anymore, and I don't know why. These are guys that are going to be on their shows in the future, years from now, probably. But who knows what they're thinking down there. I don't.
Also, not only show the full cards on the pay-per-view, also always show the full cards. Why not?
Yeah.
HBO, Showtime, whenever it's on those networks especially, all they're showing are movies that they're going to show again anyhow.
Exactly.
And they show these movies all the time. There's nothing they're showing, or TV shows or whatever.
Yeah. There's just no reason not to. Once again, they can show the movie shows anytime. They're already taped. They've already been done. Boxing is live. They can show this. Okay, and even if they're not going to show it live,
show it on delay. Show
right,
it later.
After the regular card, the undercard fight and the main event, say both of them end in a knockout, they have an hour to go left in the time slot. They'll end the show early instead of going back and showing a first-round knockout that wasn't shown by one of the prospects. That's absolutely unacceptable to end the show an hour early when there's other fights to show.
Just go ahead and show more fights. I mean, these prospects, like Iron Truth was saying, just go on and show more fights. Why not? These prospects, you want them to be big names, show every match they're going to have.
Right. The way to
we want to see all their matches.
The way to push people is not to keep them off TV. It's to put them on TV and let them be seen by the world. So.
And also, I wanted to mention the fights also being shown overseas. Like tonight, the only reason this fight, it's the Manny Pacquiao versus Oscar Larios fight, which we'll have another show on briefly. Anyhow, they're showing that fight tonight. It's one of the very rare opportunities we get to see fighters overseas. They used to show overseas fights, Ali, Frazier, Ali, Foreman. Why not do it again? And showing international fights, there's no reason they can't show international fights. We don't need some commentator.
Yeah.
If they're so determined to have commentary, fine. Show it on a delayed broadcast.
Show it in that language, if necessary, whatever.
Absolutely.
Who cares? And
And I've seen a lot of these Philippines fights. I've seen a lot of these Asian fights over in those areas of the country, as you probably saw from my last show. And a lot of the commentary is not in English, but some of it actually is in English. I don't know why. Because that's not the language of those countries, but for some reason there's an English-speaking crowd.
If you think you need the commentary, then that proves that you're influenced by the commentary, by the commentators. So you need to take that into consideration if you're sitting there having to have commentary you understand. True boxing fans do not need to hear what the announcers are saying. Of course, we'd all rather understand what they're saying than not understand, of course. That's common sense. But you see the fight. That's the most important thing. As long as you can see the fight, you know what's going on.
Absolutely. How many old fights are there that they didn't even have commentary on? Some of them they'd go back and put in commentary afterwards. If you want to do that, do that. Do like they used to do.
And have the punch called about 5 minutes before it actually is thrown.
Don't do that. You don't need to go all the way old school on it, like
Rocky Marciano fights or something. But
with the gift of slow motion replay. We're going to show you this whole round over.
And it takes till the 12th round to get the knockout, and they started in about the 9th round, it seems like.
With the magic of slow motion replay.
Absolutely. But anyway, another thing I want to talk about is an all-boxing channel. We briefly talked about this on one of the shows before, I think. Don King has said he wants to start one. He's been talking about that for a couple of years now, probably more than that. But, well, there's nothing more to say. It'd be great to have the boxing channel to show every fight, whatever, you know. So.
Absolutely. Show any fights. I mean, they can show fights, in not only fights, but also you see all these documentaries out there. We actually have some of those. OmegaFights.com, if you want to go over there and look at the fights we got, work out some kind of deal, go over there. But anyhow, the fights, show boxing specials, give someone like Max Kellerman a show again.
Yeah.
So,
about
us
boxing.
a show. Give us a show.
Yeah, absolutely. And Max Kellerman needs a show about boxing, not about sports in general. All he's going to do is criticize the other sports anyway, because he knows what sports are and what sports are not. He knows racing is not a sport, and golf, you know, all this stuff.
I don't really care what Max has to say about baseball. I don't care what Max has to say about basketball. I mean, if he says something, fine.
Yeah.
I really don't care what Max Kellerman has to say about some of those things. I care what he has to say about boxing.
Right. He's an excellent boxing analyst, the best I've ever seen by far, besides ourselves, of course.
And he's very positive person. I know a lot of people go after him, and they constantly make fun of him for some reason unknown to me, because he's not the best at predicting fights from time to time. Big deal.
Neither am I. Not at all. But anyway, Max knows his stuff. He knows probably more than any boxing analyst, and definitely more than any announcer around by far. He's been into the sport since he was a young kid. He had his own show at 15 years old that was actually broadcasted on TV. Mike Tyson used to watch it, as he told him when they met. So, you know, this guy knows his stuff. They need to give him a show about boxing. That's his sport. Let him talk about it.
Put that in this corner show on there. Put all these boxing shows. I mean, there's plenty of boxing analysts out there who've been wanting their own show.
Yeah.
Make the network. Put them on there.
Plenty of room for all of it.
Yep, absolutely. And then all the archives of boxing fights that could be put on.
Absolutely.
There's no reason not to have a show, and boxers could come on there all the time. It'd give them great exposure. Any boxing fan that wants to see it could go on there. Even non-fans could go on and say, yeah, you know, I like boxing. What channel do I go to? ESPN? Well, no, there's Scrabble on ESPN. Yeah. There's a spelling bee on ESPN. Go to the boxing channel.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said before, tennis has a channel. Golf has a channel.
Home and Garden, etc.
So boxing needs its own channel. NBA has a channel,
and they need to put us on that channel as well.
Absolutely.
And that's going to be it for this show today. Thank you for watching. Check out our other shows, which will be coming at you very, very soon. I'm Don Omega. This is Iron Fruit. Enjoy.